Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 170 of Total Retail Talks. In today's episode, Editor-in-Chief Melissa Campanelli sits down with Oisin Hanrahan, co-founder and CEO of Handy. Listen in as they talk about the platform and new trends happening in retail, all recorded live at this year's Shop.org in Las Vegas. And now, on to the show.
Hi, everybody. Melissa Campanelli here from Total Retail Talks, and I'm excited at Shop.org, and I'm really excited to be here with Oisin Hanrahan, the co-founder and CEO of Handy. So thanks so much for being here today.
Great to be here. Happy to have a conversation.
Fantastic. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about Handy. What's it all about?
Sure. So we started Handy 6 years ago to change how people buy services. And you think about all the services people need inside their home, from cleaners to handymen, plumbers, electricians. And it's this really clunky, messy, broken buying experience. So, you think about how you get a TV mounted on a wall, or how you get your apartment cleaned or your home cleaned or a faucet installed. And it's this really clunky experience where you're trying to figure out, who should I trust? When are they going to show up? How can I negotiate the scope of work and the price of the work? What happens if something goes wrong? What happens if they only take cash? Or what happens if they, start the job and then bait and switch and try and change the price? And we started Handy to fix all that. So you think about, the buying experience for product, and it's so easy. It's this one-touch buying experience where product is fixed price and you know exactly what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've tried to do with services. So you think about the services that are relatively small. Don't think about, getting your whole house remodeled or getting a kitchen put in. Think instead about the small sub $500 services that you need in your home that are just almost more work to organize than to actually do. Mm-hmm. And that's what Handy's all about. We're about taking those services and making it just so easy to buy. So today you can go to handy.com or the Handy mobile app. You can instantly check out and buy a whole range of services delivered all across the United States. Always fixed price, always guaranteed service, always a fixed time that will show up. And it's about making that experience so seamless.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So we're here at the retail show, Shop.org. So tell me about some of your partnerships with retailers. How does Handy work there? Why is Handy at a retail show?
So when we first started Handy, we thought about these service-led services. So these are the services where you actually think about the service first. So good examples would be getting your home cleaned or getting something repaired. Lots of other services aren't really service-led. They're more product-led. They're more led by the desire to watch Game of Thrones on a huge TV on a wall, or the desire to, get a new dining table and chairs. And in those categories, what we think about is, how do we take the services that are needed to make those products a great experience for the customer, and how do we build services to make that happen? So it's things like furniture assembly, it's things like TV mounting, it's things like lighting install. And what we do is we partner with major retailers so that when they go to market with these products that need service, that they can offer it as a complement to that product. So it really helps retailers compete in this current environment where it's super competitive and everyone's focused on building the best experience possible for customers. And this is a great way to not just sell a product out the door, not just sell it into the customer's home, but sell it into their lives and actually make it so that the product is being used by the customer and they're going to have a great experience using it.
So let's talk a little bit about some of your specific partnerships. Like you have one with Wayfair, I know. So what's the end user experience for the customer when they're on the Wayfair site and they're using Handy services?
Yeah, great question. So let's make it real. So today you can go to, let's take Wayfair. It's a good example. You can go to wayfair.com where they've got hundreds of thousands of pieces of amazing furniture, and a lot of that furniture needs assembly. So it shows up and there's a lot of pieces, you got to put them together. If you don't want to do that assembly, and obviously a lot of people don't, you can go to Wayfair. You can see the furniture right there, and on the PDP, on the product detail page, it just quotes you a price in real time for your zip code for the person to show up after the package arrives and actually assemble it. So you can pay for your furniture and your assembly right there at the moment of checkout. Mm-hmm. And then what happens after that is we integrate so we know exactly when the package is going to be delivered. We email you and you say, hey, we know your package is going to be delivered tomorrow. Why don't we show up the next day at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or whatever time it will be, and we can put it together for you. And you can reschedule that to any time you want, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. So you've got complete control over that experience. So you can set the assembly time for any time you want. An hour before the booking, the same way that you'd watch an Uber driver or a Lyft driver arrive, you can watch your pro arrive on a map. So there's a great geolocation experience that shows the person arrive, gives you complete control over it. You can call them, message them, chat with them, and after the job is done, you can rate them. So it's really building an incredibly seamless. It's one. So we've gone out and we've thought a lot about what to call it. It's one-click assembly or one-click installation that you can actually add to the cart right there at point of sale, and that's a great experience for the customer that you can't get anywhere else.
And then when the person comes to help, what's the term for the person that's coming to help? The service
We call them
person or
pros.
The pro comes to help. Are they Handy representatives, or are they representatives of the brand of Wayfair, et cetera?
So they represent Handy. All the experiences we've built to date have been fully Handy branded, but we think a lot about what we can do to help the brand or help the retailer that we're working with in the customer's home. And we work a lot if, a retailer is struggling with damaged packages, we'll try and figure out with that retailer, can the pro take photos of the package on arrival? If the retailer wants to collect certain data or certain information from the customer, we can ask the pro to ask the customer a couple of questions. So we've got tens of thousands of professionals that are digitally enabled, that are using our app to actually do the work. And as a result, we have a really high level of influence over what that experience can feel like. So if you want, as a brand, to collect more information, if you want to do certain things, if you want to get user-generated content, if you want to get reviews, we can really work with a brand to build the best experience possible that's suitable for their brand. So even though it's Handy branded, we can make the experience unique to each brand.
Perfect. So obviously this is great for the end user, for the customer. So I'm going to give you a lead in here, but in the age of Amazon, why is this a good thing for retailers to have as an option?
Look, I think Amazon have set out to try and build, they've publicly said it, the most consumer-centric or customer-centric company in the world, and that's it's hard to compete with when they've got incredible access to capital. And I think it's important to look at the journey they've gone on. So started with a selection. It's moved to free returns, then free shipping, then free 2-day, free same day, sometimes now free within an hour. And now they've started bundling on free install and assembly on certain categories. And I think that's a pretty compelling value prop that we're trying to figure out how to enable other retailers to compete with. And one of the reasons why is that this experience actually does a lot for the retailer. So when you add install and assembly, it actually improves the economics pretty substantially for the retailer. So we see a few things.
Yeah.
We see conversion rates go up. So when you're on a PDP and install is offered, you attract customers who wouldn't buy from you if you didn't offer install. So the customer who's looking at this saying, well, there's no world in which I'm going to put this thing together myself. Unless you put it together for me, I'm not going to buy from you. So you convert at a higher rate. Second thing is you see the order values go up. So obviously retailers thinking a lot about average order value, thinking about how to drive that up, how to make sure the margin's there. What we see is that the customers who add install and assembly are actually checking out with a higher basket size. And not just the basket, not just the cost of the service, but actually a higher product basket size. And there's different hypotheses there on what that might be. It might be that you're attracting a higher income customer. It might be that people are just buying more when they know that they don't have to install or assemble it.
Right.
There's a bunch of things.
Right.
The third thing we see is that customer sat goes up. So obviously there's different ways to track it, whether it's NPS, whether it's 5-star ratings, whether it's CSAT, whatever it is. Across almost all the measurements that we look at, customer satisfaction goes up when you add install and assembly.
Sure.
And it kind of stands to reason.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it almost is, makes sense. It's very inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the people who are going to buy something and put it together badly, and so long as there's some overlap between that set of people and the people who are buying assembly, then you're going to be working to make your customer happier. So we see satisfaction go up. Generally, satisfaction, as it's measured, is correlated with repeat purchase. We don't measure that, but you can expect that higher SAT would lead to higher repeat purchase.
Right.
And then the last thing we see is something that drops straight to the bottom line immediately. Obviously, e-com is super focused on returns. So we all know returns are a huge problem. There's a whole business, whether it's through Optoro or others, that have been built around managing reverse logistics. And it's whether it's 3% or 5% or in some categories up to 20% e-com returns. This shrinks that pretty drastically. So for the people attaching, install, and assembly, we see the return rate drop by between 25 and 75%.
Wow.
So there's this big drop off, and it depends obviously on what the economics are in your product in terms of managing those returns. But typically that's dropping straight to the bottom line in terms of increased margins. So that's why people are thinking about this, or retailers are thinking about this, not as a driver of margin by charging more for it, but actually a driver of margin through those other four means. So when we look at what people are doing, in some cases they're passing it through at cost. In other cases, they're actually discounting it. In other cases, they're giving away install and assembly for free.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, so I guess it depends on the retailer how they end up charging for it. It's up to them. If they want to roll it into delivery fees or whatever, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's entirely up to them to think through how they want to price it and what it means to them. And we're seeing people do things in different categories. So obviously there's restrictions on maps and pricing and all that stuff. So there's the ability for the retailer to use this as an incremental item that they can include for free without taking down the list price if they want to. So we're seeing people bundle it. We're seeing people use it in loyalty programs where you can actually, if you sign up to a loyalty program or if you are, a high value customer, you get it on certain products. And then we also see people kind of using it in return remediation as well. So if someone says, hey, you shipped me this product and I couldn't put it together, I want to send it back, then the retailer in some cases is stepping in and saying, hey, you know what, actually, why don't we send someone to put that together for you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is another interesting angle, right? Because at that point, you're basically getting a pile of parts back that have a very low retail value, and it's almost in your interest to say, okay, well, why don't we send someone out to put that together?
Great.
We'll have a happy customer, and we'll reduce our return rate.
Wow, that's great. So interesting how some of this stuff can work. So I'm just going to end it now with sort of what's next for you in terms of Handy. What are you looking at as for your company's goals or its growth for like the next few years?
Look, I think there's this huge opportunity to change how people buy services. There's a massive goal of delivering every service to every home. And to us, that kind of means we have to expand across different dimensions. The first one's a really boring one that no one talks about. It's do more of what you already do. But then after that, it's how do you expand across more geos? So we're very focused. We cover all the United States today, but we're focused on really filling in pockets where we're not as dense as we'd like to be. We don't have as much volume as we'd like. The third thing is expanding across more categories. So we want to make sure that we're adding more and more categories of service, so that whether it's licensed categories like electrical or plumbing or more unlicensed stuff around handyman services, we really want to fill that out and continue to add more categories. And then the fourth is around go-to-market. So obviously we've got a direct-to-consumer business that's super strong. We've got a partnership business that's doing really well, whether it's through retail or platforms like Facebook, but it's really about growing that out. And I think those two things are going to work really well together. So this direct-to-consumer business and this B2B2C business, and I think we can expect to see a lot more channel partners over the next over the next year or so.
Okay, great. We'll definitely be tracking that. So thank you so much for being with us here at shop.org at our podcast studio. And it was great talking to you, Oisin, and have a great rest of the show.
Great to be here. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, be sure to visit our podcast channel page at www.mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher, but be sure to subscribe to our podcast channel page as well. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.